Welcome back into the Full Moon Pod, and we have made it. Football is here in full force. You've got Thursday night kicking it off. Eagles, Cowboys. Friday night, high school football season starts here in Maine. And you've got the Chargers and the Chiefs. Saturday, a full slate of college football capped off by Michigan at Oklahoma. Then Sunday, our first full slate of NFL football of the year capped off by the Bills and Ravens. And then you get dessert Monday night, the Bears and the Vikings. And then we're into the routine. What a time to be alive. Thank you, God, that I get to enjoy football season. Imagine not being a football fan. What is this week like for you? What is this week like for I don't know. Like, I can't imagine a world where tomorrow night and even this weekend is the only thing that matters in life. I can't imagine that world. What are you worried about? Politics? The evil villain meeting over there in China with Russia, North Korea, and China inventing shit? Is that what you're worried about? That seems like a pretty miserable life to me. If we blow up, we blow up. I'll tell you what, though. If I blow up, I hope I'm sitting my ass on the couch watching some ball. And we're going to talk about ball with my buddy Mark Paulette from 92.9 The Ticket up here in Bangor. I think we talked for like an hour. It was a great conversation talking week one of college football, looking ahead to a little bit of Michigan, Oklahoma, and then we've got NFL. We give our Super Bowl picks, overrated teams, underrated teams. We give a couple spread picks for this weekend. We kind of just talk about it all, and it was a great time. Let's go. Finish with a good Today on X that was actually today on TikTok, and a little State of the Moon to recap. Let's do this. Football's here, man. Let's go. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, and happy NFL Eve. We kick it all off with the Eagles and the Cowboys tomorrow, and I mean, from there on out, you're safe until February. How lucky are we to be able to live from Memorial Day weekend all the way back in May, all the way through the new year into February? You go from summer into football season. If you're sad because Labor Day weekend's past us and summer's over, don't worry. We're in an even better time of year. Football into holiday season. It's just undefeated. March, April, the beginning of May, I can do without that. Actually, the beginning of May, I like to celebrate the spring. You get the leaves, the flowers, I almost said sprout up, bloom. The flowers bloom. It's a great time of year. Hope is restored into your spirit. But you got to enjoy this. Don't be sad that summer's over. We're just getting started, baby. We are just getting started. We talk football today with my buddy Mark Paulette from 92.9 The Ticket. One of my mentors, Jeff Christianberry, said, I think you could benefit, from at least a rotating guest host, so we're going to try to incorporate some more guest hosts in here. So it's not just me giving these monologues, talking to myself, although I do need to get better at them. We are going to incorporate a guest host. So, we talk college football week one recap, and then we talk looking ahead to the NFL season. We give our Super Bowl picks, some overrated and underrated teams, talk a couple spreads for this weekend. It was so much fun chopping it up with Mark. But before we get to that, Pablo Torre, formerly ESPN, very well known for his Around the Horn segments in a weekly or an occasional rotation in on PTI, sitting in for either Kornheiser or Wilbon. He has revived true sports journalism with some stories lately, and he busted a big one today. Essentially, through his own research of reading through documents, conducting some on-the-record interviews, off-the-record interviews, he found and has pointed out and has accused Clippers owner Steve Ballmer of essentially paying Kawhi Leonard under the table, essentially giving him some good old-fashioned college, back in the day, dirty money, a no-show job with, I forgot, it's been a long day, so excuse my brainwash, but essentially, this is all you need to know. Steve Ballmer, in an effort to recruit Kawhi Leonard, way back when Kawhi Leonard was a free agent and left the Spurs, essentially created a business and and assigned Kawhi Leonard a no-show job where he didn't have to do anything. He was just getting paid under the table. $28 million. That company goes bankrupt. Pablo Torre digs in, finds something suspicious. Real suspicious. I thought, that's a genius move. Genius move. I didn't even think for a second, and I guess this is why I am not in that position, to pay a pro athlete and lure a pro athlete through free agency, just like you would in old school college sports. That dirty money. Hey man, yeah, someone's just gonna drop off, hundreds of thousands of dollars on your front door. You're just gonna get a random Mustang that shows up in the driveway. You know what I mean? Genius. So I'm excited to see if they actually act on it. The NBA, pretty shady. So we'll see if anything's done. But I just had to point that out. I would be remiss to not bring it up. But who cares about the NBA? Who cares about basketball? I don't even care about a story like that. And the NBA is pretty lucky because tomorrow that story will be forgotten about because we have NFL football. It's here. It's so funny how football is the only sport that doesn't ease into it. You go from really nothing, like preseason, just all tease. We talked about it. The Blue Ball of August has been well talked about here on the Full Moon Podcast. But you start up Thursday, and then bang, we're into a routine. College week 2 Saturday. You got Thursday. You even throw in a little Friday. For me, up here in Maine, we got our first Friday night show. So Fridays for me in the fall is high school football, which it should be. The NFL should never take Friday night. That is sacred. That's for high school football. So you got Thursday night football with the NFL, high school football on Friday nights, Saturday full slate of college football, and we've got our first full slate of NFL on Sunday into Monday Night Football, and just like that, by the time next Tuesday rolls around, we are in the process. We're on our weekly routine, just like that. Best time of year. Don't take a single snap for granted. You're going to blink. It's going to be October. You know how fast this goes. The best time of year, unfortunately, goes by the quickest. So enjoy it. Let's kick into our conversation with Mark. I'm here with Mark Paulette of 92.9 The Ticket. Mark, I wanted to have you on, and this isn't really an interview. This is just a converse. You know what I mean, about the football that was played week 1 in this NFL football we got coming up. And I want to start with the college. First off, how are you doing, and how was the bachelor party this weekend?
So taking yesterday and today off was definitely the smart play. I have needed at least 48 hours of recovery and just rest, recuperation, all the R's that go into it. It was a struggle there on Monday. Played Sunday River on the way back, and just some of the worst golf of my life. I had no energy in the body, so been taking it real easy since then.
And you and the fellows just kind of kicked it back in what, North Conway? Where were you guys, New Hampshire?
Yeah, right outside North Conway in New Hampshire. And after played a round of golf at like 1 on Saturday, and that was the last time we left the house until Monday morning. It was a weekend.
Just locked into the ball.
Of course, yeah. What else will we be doing?
That's so awesome. And it was an interesting weekend of football, and I think what everyone got lost in, and what I want to talk about first, is just the hype that is kind of built up in the offseason. And you can relate to that because you are someone who works on a daily afternoon radio show, and you got to fill the time anyway. And I think we're in this world where there's a lot of shows like that where it's a lot of filling time. Right, so then you kind of get caught in, okay, you're gassing up Arch Manning because you're talking about him every day. You're gassing up this Texas team you're talking about every day, and it kind of goes across the board. Clemson was gassed up all offseason long. Notre Dame, you know what I mean? And you could say it for a number of teams, and then Arch Manning goes out there, And actually, first off, before we get to that, I just want to talk a little bit and ask you about, like, where do you see the overhype happen? Is it like middle of August? Because it gets there, right? There's only so much you can talk about.
Yeah, it's the fact that the guy was the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, right? With 2 career starts or whatever the number was coming into this season. It's all having to do with his last name, obviously, and the family he comes from, basically the first family of football in this country. But you just look at him and you got to let him get out there on the field a little bit, right? Because last year you looked at the stats and he had 1 good start, he had 1 not so good start. So you weren't quite sure what you were going in there to begin with. And it's a guy that hadn't played football consistently in how many years. He's going into his junior year, getting his first start as the guy, not filling in as a replacement. Yeah, the last name, the hype machine, everything around it did that guy no favors. I'm sure he'll be fine and play much better as the season goes along. But I think the bar was just set so impossibly high for him. I mean, he had to go out there and throw for 330, 3 touchdowns, run in another one, and beat the reigning national champions in their house just to basically live up to where the bar had been set.
And you know what I think is a major miss, because I actually picked Texas in this one, which after watching that first half, you were like, what did I just do? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it looked that bad. And he was bad from the jump. That first throw, he was rolling out to his right. It wasn't a crossbody. I mean, it was the way you want your quarterback running.
Yeah.
And he had a
Wasn't
guy,
close.
in the flat, and he had a guy maybe 10 to 12 yards down the field, kind of running a little levels concept. And he looked like the whole time he was just going to check it down. Last second, it seemed like he was indecisive, changed his mind, and he threw just an awful ball that was between the two of them on
Mhm.
that first snap, and we were all just kind of like, okay, what the hell was that? And he was shaky from the start. And one thing I don't think I gave nearly enough credit and weight behind it when making a pick or even trying to analyze the game, and I think a lot of people kind of falled for the same thing, or I guess didn't think of the same thing. Maybe in hindsight, picking Arch Manning, a guy making his first start, going up against a defensive coordinator that's won a Super Bowl as a
Yeah.
defensive coordinator, might
Yeah.
not have been the wisest choice. I don't think I gave enough credit to Matt Patricia and what he was going to be able to do against in his eyes, rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? Think about everything Matt
Absolutely.
Patricia and
Yeah.
Bill Belichick used to do against rookie quarterbacks. That was the thing, right? Oh, these guys against, a Belichick defense, rookie
Yeah.
quarterbacks don't have a lot of success. That's basically what it was for Arch. And for some reason, before the game, I didn't give nearly enough credit to that.
No, I don't think anyone did. They were just caught up in the hype machine because that's unfortunately the society that we live in 2025, not just the world of sports, but everything. Anything and everything gets overhyped before it even gets here, and it's unfortunate because it takes away from part of just watching the game too. I think when you're going into it and all of a sudden you have this great buildup or idea of what it's supposed to be. 14-7, it was a pretty bland game all the way through, but like it was a one-score game between two of the best three teams in the country. Yeah, you come out of it thinking, "Oh God, I just wasted 3 hours because I thought I was going in watching the second coming of Jesus at the quarterback position go in and slay the beast from last year."
Exactly. And I think you're 100% right. And the hype is, I think, another reason for all this hype and all these proclamations and all this stuff that goes into it, with First Take talking about it in the preseason. Like when college football, when anything but the NFL or NBA gets on First Take and they're really taking time, it's got some momentum.
Yeah.
I guess you can't say worth talking about, but it's got some notoriety, you should say. And it delivered on Saturday. 4 games, over 10 million viewers. That was on Fox, that Texas Ohio State game. Over 16 million. That was the most watched week 1 game of all time. So I mean,
I mean,
it's
just and put a pin in that number for a second. 16 million.
yes,
The NBA freaks out if it gets like 2 million to turn into a regular season game. Like
correct.
loses their mind.
And that was
16
a
million is
noon
a
window.
massive number.
That exactly, and that was noon on Labor Day weekend. On the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, it was noon. Noon
Yeah.
kick. You know what I mean? That is an impressive number, not only for, just college football in general, but also just the situation, the time slot. Noon on Labor Day weekend is, a lot of people are busy out doing stuff. You know what I mean? On a Saturday
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Labor Day weekend. So I thought that was impressive. And I think this weekend, and we're going to get to some more games here, just quickly breeze through them, but this weekend showed me, and it really got me excited for college football, because there's not and maybe Ohio State with that defense might emerge as the powerhouse, as a superpower. But growing up, it was Bama, Georgia, and maybe a team from the Big Ten who you thought could do it, and then everyone else. I mean, this year
Yeah.
it seems like in the parity of NIL, you can really feel it coming into place here, where you look at some of these team schedules, or maybe a supposed powerhouse, and you see a team on their schedule, and you're like, that's not an easy game anymore. You're as easy as it used to be. I mean, I really feel like the NIL is finally bringing us some parity here in the college game.
Oh, it definitely has. It's flattened out how many teams, like you're talking about, can be there at the end of the year. Same thing with the 12-team playoff. I think that'll set up in a year like this fantastic at the end of the season when you don't quite know who's in it or who the runaway team is at the end there. And I mean, like you're talking about with Ohio State, yeah, maybe they're the team that who knows, that could be their worst performance, right? And they go on to just lay waste to the rest of the season and run over everybody. But it did kind of seem like coming into the season, even though Texas and Arch were getting all the hype, and Ohio State is your reigning national champion, and I know Penn State is still sitting right there, just kind of went about their business and held firm and watched the chaos around them. But it felt like a pretty open year coming into it, did it not? That it could go any number of ways. And I don't think week one did anything to dispel any of that if you were along that line of thinking. And what you mentioned with the transfers, watching other games later in the weekend, like that Miami Notre Dame game where you have Beck coming into a new team, but it wasn't just him. It was kind of all over, definitely the top 25 landscape, but greater college football as a whole. You saw just how important the transfer portal is, how big of an impact a guy like Beck can make going from a team in Georgia to a team in Miami that maybe doesn't have all the pieces that the Bulldogs do, but have enough to be competitive and be a top 10 team if they have a guy roll in who's already played 4 years of the sport.
Oh, 100%. And especially when you can get a guy, you can land a guy like Beck out of Miami with that offensive line, which they showed us. And we're going to get to that game. But Bama FSU, I mean, FSU is an example. You kind of clean house. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
new quarterback, kind of new players across the board. You clean house of the roster, kind of revamp it a little bit after just a bizarre year last year. DJ Ugalele, I think that's how you say
Yeah,
it.
that
That, that,
experiment didn't
that
over.
it was just a dumpster fire. You know what I mean? So they definitely wiped the slate clean, and then you pick up a big win at Bama. A lot is being made. One of my buddies went to Bama, and they're just distraught. Alabama fans are slowly realizing that the dynasty is over. Like Castellano said back in June before beating Bama, he said that Nick Saban can't come save you. And what do you see? Where do you stand on the DeBoer stuff? Because I personally didn't like the hire in the first place. I did not think that. Don't get me wrong. The guy's a winner wherever he's been. He's won ball games and won big games. But I just didn't see a guy from South Dakota coming in and truly galvanizing an SEC fan base and taking control of an SEC team. It was never going to work for me. Who's to say it's not going to work? But I don't see it fit. And he's 5-5 in his last 10. Having a record like that at Alabama is quite literally unacceptable. Let alone a loss to Vanderbilt, a loss to a average Oklahoma team, to get outscored by the Maine Black Bears in Norman in 2024. Let's not forget that. I'm going to bring that up every chance I get. And then now losing to FSU, I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see it getting that much better where they're going to keep him around long term.
No, because also that polish is worn off or the shine is worn off, I should say, in the age of NIL, that they're no longer getting the best players by simply being Alabama, because that came with winning every year. When you win every year, the best people want to come to you. DeBoer, like his record before the Bama job spoke for itself. The guy was like 112 or something, right? It was insane. But Alabama is the SEC is a different beast entirely. And I'm kind of with you that just the temperament of the individual itself or something didn't quite seem like a fit for that job. And now Nick Saban isn't he doesn't lead with that necessarily. He's quiet, he's reserved, but the resume he had, the body of work, he had been around the block in the NFL numerous decades, numerous teams. He had been in college and he had already won a national championship there at LSU. So he had all that working for him by the time he came to Alabama. Kalen DeBoer, yeah, he got to a national championship and he had the sparkling record, but he still wasn't quite as known of a commodity when he got that job. So I think his leash will be significantly shorter because of it. And then you couple that with all the losses. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't even think it has to be that bad. If they have another year like last year, like a 4-loss season, I think he might be out of there by the end of the year.
I agree, especially with some of the talent they were able to retain in the portal, like a Ryan Williams. And you see these rumors online talking about some guys, bringing their girlfriends in, getting DoorDash late at night, like they're and you don't want to trust these SEC bots, the SEC burners. You know what I mean? You're not taking their word as gospel. But I'll just let you know, as someone who's been on a couple bad football teams before, when there's not buying or you have some bad apples like that and you don't have that set culture, which Saban had, and watching them get pushed around on Saturday and the noise that's coming out of the program and around the program, I think it's safe to say that the Bama standard has dropped off a little bit within the program. And when you got guys, because that's the thing, I just want people to know that players going to get DoorDash at 1 a.m., leaving the hotel at 1 a.m., whatever. It's a thing when you got a team that's not fully committed to upholding that standard, and that's a really bad sign. Even in again, these are not confirmed reports by any means. It's people who say they were around the team hotel, but it is something that I kind of just want to put out there that is real. You know what I mean? That's not just some completely made up thing. That happens all the time across college football. So just because, and I think it's just kind of new to Bama, right? That stuff like that even could happen, because if you would do that under Nick Saban, your head would be chopped off.
I was going to say, you don't get those headlines under Nick Saban. Something like that doesn't come out because it's not happening. And if it does, that person's not around the next day to see.
And Saban probably has someone in the lobby just making sure.
Oh, I'm sure. He's just got someone posted up in a chair.
If you told me there was this all-nighter guy whose job was quite literally to maybe sleep when they land and are doing meetings and stuff, and he has a shift from 10:30 p.m. to 5 a.m., you know what I mean? I would not doubt that.
The newspaper appearing over the top of it.
And it's crazy. Like, people as the sports come more popular, the I guess dirty and the I don't know how to, not the cheating, but just kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there's so much that goes into college football that's hysterical. I had an old coach who played at Michigan and then was a GA at Michigan, and this won't help that the Michigan, I guess, cheating scandals, but his job, his assignment, he said it happens all over the country, and that's what I got frustrated as someone who, I don't love Michigan. I'm not like a big Michigan fan, but I like Michigan. I like the brand of football they play. I like the brand in general. I would get frustrated when they would get singled out. It's like this was happening all across college football. Like, okay, did Stallions, is he a psychopath that took it to the extreme and mastered it? Yes. Did he take it a little far? But it's happening in some way, shape, or form. It's very similar to the Astros cheating scandal. They are the ones who get pinned, right? Because they took it a little too far, but the Yankees are under investigation. The Sox are. There's people guilty all over the place of this stuff. So his job at Michigan, to get back to my original point, was he would wait outside the hotel for the buses to leave. Then his job was to go back in the meeting rooms, because you use these conference rooms for meals. You use them for dinner and or team meals, team meetings. Like, you got to, when you go into an away game at a hotel, you've got a handful of conference rooms that you're using at all times, which these are college kids. They might get lazy. They're forgetful, right? His job was to go just search the ground, just not do anything crazy, just look around. Did anyone leave anything? He found the opening script against Michigan State's offensive opening script to the game. How funny is that? And they were ready for it. That game, he said there was what he specifically remembers, there was a reverse, because it all is in your own terminology, but at the same time, a lot of these teams are doing some of the same stuff, just worded different, right? So a football guy would be able to dissect most of it. Yeah. They caught a reverse and just blew it up on the opening script. I thought that was funny, just a glimpse into college football, but that was a full side tangent. Sorry about that. We'll move on to LSU Clemson. I didn't get to catch a ton of this one. I was at a wedding. We're gonna waive the fall wedding slander though, because it was a childhood best friend, first childhood friend wedding, and it was spectacular. You know what I mean? It hits all the right notes. You know what I mean? The nostalgia, just a great time with your buddies you've known all your life. But we were kind of tuning in and out of this one, but I got to watch the highlights after. I picked Clemson in this one as almost a fade of Brian Kelly and LSU. They had to show me. You know what I mean? Yep. They had to show me to earn my trust in. And in that second half, they certainly did.
Yeah, that's kind of a battle of two coaches that I just have no belief in at this point. Brian Kelly, I mean, he's done it for years, right? Mm-hmm. He's kind of the hype machine. It gets hyped up, and then he doesn't meet that level, and he's just kind of left. I'm so angry. I am so mad. That's my Brian Kelly impression. And then Dabo on the other side of it, I don't know. He just kind of annoys me as one of the, like, when he's building it up and it's going good, he's God, and then it starts getting torn down, and it's like, well, we're building our program in the name of God, not the name of NIL.
God's
like,
cool. NIL. Yeah, God's NIL.
Have fun. No longer winning national championships or games or being a mainstay in the top 25. So he's just someone who, I don't know, he seemed to have a little success and then think like, I've got this entire sport figured out. I've got this whole thing figured out. It's not the players. It's not the assistants scheming up anything. Like, this is anything I say. We go out there, we do it, we win football games. So yeah, talk about tangents. That just my analysis of the game turned into my dislike for both
No,
coaches.
but I love that because I did not when did you watch any of the SEC docu series on Netflix?
Not like half of the first episode, not much.
If you watched it, you would even hate Brian Kelly more. You'd wonder how you play for that guy. The players say they like playing for him, and hey, to each their own. But I'm exactly with you. They're both just kind of like slimy salesmen.
Kind of like
Where
slimy front runners is how it seems.
correct, and where if I was a big time recruit, I'd feel much more comfortable with a guy like Dan Lanning, like Kirby Smart. You know what I mean? Someone where you're getting them. You know what I mean? That who they
Yep.
are is who they are. You know what I'm saying? And but anyway, to your point, I thought Garrett Nussmeier was good when I watched the highlights back. That LSU defense, I think, was what was more impressive to me was what they were able to do to blank a really good quarterback in Cade Klubnik. And again, here comes another side tangent. I think that is something you got to keep in mind and take with a grain of salt in terms of all these quarterbacks that were gassed up going into the year. Guys
Yeah.
like Arch, like Klubnik, like I guess those are the two big ones. Those are the two big ones.
Well, I was going to ask you about Klubnik because that's another guy that like cart in front of the horse. You're hearing about him as an NFL
Yeah.
prospect a year or two down the line, and every time I watch it, it's like this is the guy they're talking about.
I think you played a really good defense. He did not. Neither him or Arch looked great and gave you a reason to be even having this conversation right now, right? But I think you ran into two elite defenses in LSU and Ohio State. But where I differ with Arch and Klubnik is that Klubnik has played in some big games before. He's got a lot of
Yeah.
football under his belt, and he was at home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's a little different story on the road. That's where I cut Arch a little bit more slack on the road. First real start, and your first real start comes in at Ohio State, the defending national champs. Whereas you have an unreal environment down there at Clemson against a very good LSU team, but the expectation, if you are who you say you are, is to win, and that's been a big part of Clemson's problem over the past couple of years. Is every year, I can't say every year, they haven't been playoff level caliber every single year since they won it with Trevor Lawrence, but they get gassed up and they're dominating ACC play, but those out of conference games, whenever they face an SEC big boy or I don't know if they've ever played a Big Ten big boy. I didn't do my research to that nature, but they kind of fold. You know what I mean? They haven't won the big game in a long time.
Yeah. No, they really haven't. They haven't since the talent from the dynasty years went out, it seems.
And they haven't but I think that's what gave me hope is this was the first year it felt like they had that level of talent. And then they just shit the bed in the second half. But that was disappointing. And this is why I love. And again, if I really want to survive in this sports media thing, I got to learn to dive. I might not like it, maybe dive a little bit more into the preseason hype. But I'm not a fan of it. I love this right here, reacting and talking about the game this weekend. You know what I mean? I'm just not one of those guys. And you see that on ESPN all the time as kind of the battle, right? You'll see a guy like Dan Orlovsky who loves talking ball. Doesn't necessarily love all the preseason stuff, but kind of gets roped into it, right? Because he's on First Take and he's become one of the talking heads. You know what I mean? So it's a weird dynamic that I think I have to get more used to for sure.
Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but I'm with you there. Like it's at some point, it's just kind of all right. Let's wait and see what's actually going to happen, and then we can analyze the bleep out of it.
Before we get to Chapel Bill, I do want to just talk about Notre Dame Miami, best game of the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, the pageantry, just the studs on the sideline. I mean, you had Ray Lewis. Michael Irving's a psychopath.
Just a madman. Absolute madman.
Psychopath. But I thought that was great. And again, it's cool to see, in a lot of other years, Notre Dame goes in, wins that game because they're just superior than a Miami team. Here we go. Carson Beck transfers over, plays very well. Kadarius Toney's little brother is a true freshman balling out for the Miami Hurricanes.
That's who that was? I didn't even know.
That's who that was. Yeah, Tony.
Yeah.
He was balling out. I thought that was cool. And I'm a Marcus Freeman guy, and I think this type of loss is probably good for this program.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it last year. The early loss out of the way, kind of shock them, and then they use that to fuel to run the rest of the season. I am too, because we talk about like slimy college coaches. He just seems to be the opposite of that. He seems to be genuine. He seems to care about the people on his team. Now, maybe he's smoother in front of the camera than these other guys. I don't really know, but I'm in his corner there as well. But yeah, that game of the weekend, no doubt, because not only everything you said, they matched each other like up and down the field the entire way.
Mm-hmm.
If Notre Dame went down to score, Miami answered it. If Miami went down to take a 3-point lead, Notre Dame went right down to answer it. That was a fantastic one at the end of the weekend.
And now we got to get to Chapel Bill. I mean, this is near and dear to our heart. Bill Belichick's done a lot for us growing up, but this was tough to watch.
Did part of you kind of enjoy seeing them get smacked around
Just because
through the mud, just because of the way the last few years have gone?
a part of me was, and just I'm so disappointed in Bill, excuse me, because
he made us feel like that. That's not on us, Jack. We don't have to feel guilty about it.
I agree, and it's just like you just hate that he's let it get to this where people are questioning anything about him. You know what I mean? And a lot of it does have to do with old Jordan Hudson. You know what I mean? And that is a big reason. Go ahead. Sorry?
I didn't see her in the stadium in the second half.
I did not.
They stopped showing her on TV real quick.
They did, and it's just been tough to see, what was once a guy of just absolute legend, still is, I shouldn't say once, still is a legend in New England, will forever be a god in New England, but just giving people a reason to question or judge him like this, you're just like, Bill, like, come on, man. You know what I mean? And then they go lay an egg, which I got to say, I put out the first lock of the walk on Walks with Webb before the game.
Yeah.
And it was TCU minus 3.5. And it was hard to put out there because of, like we just talked about, Bill Belichick and everything he's done for us. But when I saw that first drive on the script, when UNC,
it looked good, didn't it?
When they went on that script, using those scripted plays, they looked unbelievable. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I just made the worst mistake of my life. Because I had pumped it all over social media. I had told my buddies, lock of the walk. I had gassed it up. They come out with that drive, and I just start sweating. I'm like, what did I do? I look like the biggest clown. I pumped it all out there to all New England people, calling my shot. TCU walking in, playing spoiler against Chapel Bill, and I'll tell you what, it feels fucking good to nail it. To have nailed it and kind of lay out the reasoning. Oh, man, when you do that and you put it out there, it feels great when you nail it.
Oh, of course. You gotta take a moment to celebrate that victory. But, yeah, that was an ugly one. Ugly one Monday night. I stuck with it until, I don't know, third quarter or so. And by that point, I was passed out trying to come back from the weekend. But, yeah, it just – I don't know, because I'm with you. Like, up until his final year in New England, I was adamant that if Bill wants to coach Patriots forever and they go 2-14 for eternity, cool, because of what he did for me and the fan base for 2 decades. He deserves that right. But then it just got into such a petty back and forth with him and Kraft, and they're both to blame. It's not just one of them. Like, Robert was just as bad at it as well. But at some point, it does just – I don't know. I don't know if it's the arrogance or what it is that I wanted to see come back to bite him a little bit, but you did see it. You saw the tongue. Steve, I mean, that guy's got to be worried for his job after TCU was just running up and down the field. Every time the Horned Frogs scored, they show him just looking confused, looking up at the scoreboard. And it's like, I know you're only there because of Daddy, so how long until he takes those duties away from you?
I know when you watch the actual game, watch back the highlights, just it was just bad football. You know what I mean? And you might be thinking right now,
awful fundamental, everything that was preached for 2 decades in Foxborough.
Just bad. And that's what I think. Okay, you just nailed it right there. That's what we are disappointed with Bill, is that everything he used to preach and be against, he's kind of turned into.
Yeah, it's out the window. He's now a social media darling. He's flaunting himself and Jordan in front of the camera. He's doing all this stuff that, if you want to do that, if you want to enjoy the limelight, cool. Like, you're Bill Belichick, you deserve to. But when you have lived the last 30 to 40 years telling other people that they should go about their lives this way for success, and, kind of looking down your nose, looking through the lens of your glasses at them a little bit, like you're holier than thou, and then to have that heel turn, to flip like that, respect goes out the window at that point.
Nailed it. You absolutely nailed it right there. And I think, too, you might be thinking now, like listeners, well, you just gave Matt Patricia credit for being a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. Bill Belichick taught him. I think this showed you the vast difference of Ohio State talent and how coachable and how athletic they are compared to what
Yep.
he has at North Carolina. You just saw the look on his face, almost like, I can't believe, like, this is what I'm working with. You know what I mean? When they would pan to him after a touchdown, and it's bad. And what I'm the most curious about, because I've been curious this whole time, what the hell is it like being a player in that program with Bill Belichick at the helm? What is he actually hands-on with? What is his actual role within the building outside of leading team meetings and drawing up the X's and O's, right? I can't imagine being a player in that facility right now, because this is a guy, Bill Belichick, who used to mentally break grown men in the NFL. You know what I
Yep.
mean? His attitude and his silence, and these college players they're not getting paid, or I guess some of them. I don't know if anyone at UNC after watching that game is getting paid a big bag. You know what I mean? But these are guys who in college are more mentally fragile. They need a little bit more positive reinforcement. You know what I mean? Okay, it's okay to give them an ass chewing, but you got to pat them on the ass when they do something right. That's
Sure.
not anything Bill Belichick's ever cared about. You know what I mean? I just can't even imagine how miserable that facility is going to be if they don't somehow turn it around and end up having a good, even a good year. You know what I mean? Like, just going in that building day in and day out with talking to Coach Belichick, who's never going to crack a smile. He's going to be serious. You know what I mean? And rip your ass and demand everything from you. I just don't. These college guys, they're just not. They're not grown NFL men. You know what I mean? Some are, which is why they make it, and some have that mindset. But you're dealing with a little bit different in terms of a little bit different climate in terms of a full team.
Oh, you absolutely are. And I think the other thing with it that I haven't heard too many people say, maybe they're afraid to, they just don't want to out of respect for Bill. But just think of any other discipline of life. Yes, he is, in my mind, he's the greatest football mind of all time, greatest coach, whatever you want to call it. He's also now approaching or in his mid 70s.
Mm,
He has been in the game for 50 years, but it keeps evolving as you go.
yeah,
How he had it worked wonderfully for the Patriots for 2 decades. He had that thing down to a T. He had mastered the NFL. He had mastered how to win there. College is a different game. It's different players, like you're talking about. It's different just makeups of individuals, like you're talking about, when you have to deal with them and figure out how to communicate with them. He's not that great of a communicator. And it might just be like I was saying before with different disciplines of life, before I get sidetracked there a little bit. Think of someone who was the greatest at anything 40 years ago.
mm-hmm.
Are they still the greatest at it 40 years in the future? Now, normally you can't compare one for one because maybe it takes some physical skills or whatever thing, but I'm just talking like mentally up
Yeah.
here. If it's all in the head, yes, he was the greatest 10 years ago. He's the greatest 20 years ago. He was on his way to being the greatest 30 years ago. Over those decades, the game has continued to evolve. Other minds and thinkers in the game have continued to evolve. It's not crazy, or I think all that disrespectful to say there's probably people out there in 2025 that understand the game of football in 2025 better than Bill Belichick does in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think it's nuts to say, especially with what it's involved. Now, I think at the core, defense is defense. You know what I mean? But I think in
Yeah.
terms of the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Offense and what offenses can do. You know what I mean? All these fucking, you know, offensive nerds who haven't played football in their life, but they're obsessed with the
Yeah.
X's and O's, right? Like these gurus that are coming out. I think they're probably scheming it up a little bit better and showing him some stuff that he's never seen before, certainly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Before we transition to the NFL, you have it's a primetime game. Gun to your head. Got to pick one or the other. NFL or NCAA college football. What are you watching?
Oh, I'm watching NFL.
You're watching
any,
NFL.
any day of the week because I mean, maybe it's not the example anymore, but 5 years ago, say a Jacksonville, Tennessee Thursday night game in Color Rush that's going to end 13-9 that everybody knows is just an awful waste of a Thursday night. I'm glued into the TV
Yeah.
because whether it's like sports gambling, fantasy football, whatever the case is, I can watch a neutral, out of market, meaningless 0-14 versus 1-13 NFL team and be perfectly fine doing it, be entertained doing so. College football, I kind of have to have a reason. I've got to have a little skin in the game. I'm definitely an NFL guy.
I get that. I think so these teams who play in these big games in week one, I think where people get frustrated with college football and where it loses them a little bit is those guys who just played a big game one and you kind of are attached to their program. All I want to do now is see Miami go play another game, right? Well, they
Sure.
kind of got to wait until week 3 or week 4 because these teams now, and rightfully so in my opinion, get their cupcake game because they stepped up against a big boy in week one. They now get their cupcake. That's kind of just the
Yeah.
nature of the sport. But what I also love about it, there's so many teams where every Saturday there should be at least one good game, especially with the parity kind of growing around the sport. So we've got Michigan in at Oklahoma, which is unbelievable. And it's also like I also love getting this chance to nerd out as having got to go on that trip to Oklahoma last year, the Black Bears, and see what it's like to play in that environment and in the small ass locker room. You know what I mean? They shove you in. It's funny just to think of, the same exact program as Michigan's going to be in there. You know what I mean? So I kind of have my own personal attachment to this one. But I think the reason, gun to my head, and I'm not talking playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoff NFL football is the best form of postseason we have in sports. You know what I mean? Because it's game 7 every game. The storylines, the matchups are always just unreal. Like you can't get better than that. But if you gave me in an October night, one primetime game, I think I'm picking college football because I just love the pageantry of the game, right? Like I love game day beforehand, and those same fans who are going crazy for game day are going to be there for the 7:30 kick in Norman. You know what I mean? That night, just everything about it, the fireworks. You're going to have the horse and buggy. I just the colors and where I think that the biggest difference is right is you love the professional aspect and you get attached and you're allowed to because they're around for much longer and they're solidified names, solidified stars in the NFL, right?
Yep.
Whereas the reason I love college is it's the programs. You know what I mean? It's these, and I think that's why I love the college game. You know what I mean? Because if Josh Allen's not in the Bills, no one gives a shit about the Bills. You know what I mean? Right now, but when I say when I say Bills, I should say when I frame it like this: when I say Bills, you think Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
I
of course.
say Oklahoma, I don't necessarily think of a Baker Mayfield first. I just think of that maroon. You know what I mean? That logo, that OU logo. You know what I mean? So I think
titles and
exactly.
I mean, the college game just means more to everybody involved with it. You can't make an argument the other way.
I agree, and I think that's why, gun to my head, I'm going with that one. But we'll transition to the NFL now. Start off with a bang. Super Bowl pick. Give it to me.
I hate it. I hate it so much. I hadn't given it any thought until you texted me earlier today and said, "This is what we're doing. You need a Super Bowl pick." I was trying to avoid it up until that point, and boy, all right. Let me pull up the data.
You want me to
here.
start with mine, or you got it
Well,
right
I
now?
mean, I don't feel good about saying it, so I'm trying to avoid actually putting the team out there.
Yep.
Just because it's the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
The team that jokes every single year when the
Uh-huh.
lights get bright. But this year, I don't know. I think they should be as good as they were last year, and I don't think any other team in the NFL should be as good as they were last year because Baltimore always has the number one offense. They always have 11, 12, 13 wins, it seems, at the end of the regular season when you look up, and they're in position for a 1 or a 2. Hasn't been the case in recent seasons, obviously, because of Kansas City. I think KC takes a little bit of a step back. I kind of see like 11 wins as their ceiling because the West is tough.
Mm-hmm.
You got Denver, who's a playoff team a year ago. You got the Chargers, who were a playoff team a year ago. A lot of people looking past the Raiders, but they did improve. They now have a quarterback in Geno Smith. They have a running back in Ashton Genty. They've got a receiver in Jacoby Myers, a tight end in Brock Bowers. Defensively, I can't tell you all that much about them, but I think they'll be better than where they were last year. So that knocks the Chiefs down a peg. The North, I also don't think is going to be as tough as it was for Baltimore to get out of. Aaron Rodgers is now in Pittsburgh, so I think Mike Tomlin's streak of 500 seasons comes to an end because I just see that going up in smoke and being a 6-11, 7-10 kind of season. You have also in that division Cincinnati, who, they're playing a last place schedule coming off of last season, but defensively are maybe as much of a mess as they've always been, even
Hot
after
ass.
Hendricks in. Yeah, they're just awful. So unless Joe Burrow's putting up 42 a week, I see them as a 7, 8, 9 wins somewhere in there. And then Cleveland, for me, could be one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL. So I don't think Baltimore's path through the North is necessarily all that tough. I think it's easier than it has been in recent seasons. And then when you look at the playoffs, I think the Chiefs won't be as good as they have been. I think Buffalo is just until they do it. I mean, I'm picking Baltimore, so I can't really say that with a straight face until they do it. Like I got to believe it until I see it. But that's the team's history. I mean, 4 straight Super Bowls. It's not just recent seasons. Like they've got some trouble in those spots. And Lamar, I think people forget how insanely dynamic and good he was last year in year one of that new offense in Baltimore. Josh Allen won the MVP because of Lamar Jackson fatigue, because he already had 2 in the bag, and because Josh Allen, I mean, he wasn't turning the ball over, and the Bills were winning, and they had a no-name offense, so you can make the case for him. Lamar had 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 41-4. If anybody else has that number, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, state your quarterback.
Yeah.
It's being talked about like one of the greatest seasons of all time. And because he's Lamar Jackson, it's like, well, passing isn't even really his thing. Running is, that's what he does well. Guess what? He also ran for like 900 yards last year. So as long as he's doing that, as long as Derrick Henry is healthy in the backfield, Bateman took a step forward last year and looks like a real receiver to have on the outside. Zay Flowers already is. You got the couple of tight ends. I just look at Baltimore and think that if they can finally just not even put it together, don't shoot themselves in the foot late in the year, I think they're the most well-rounded team to go after it.
And I love the analysis. I love the breakdown, and I also I'm rooting for Lamar. You know what I mean? I friggin' love Lamar Jackson. I love his game.
Yeah, it'd be nice for him to
I,
have something.
you know what I mean? I just would love for him to get that stamp of approval of a Super Bowl ring after his whole career just being doubted, and still to this day. You know what I mean? People still don't look at him even after all those stats as a legit quarterback. People don't believe in him. So I would love to see him get it done. For me, pains me to say this because I hate the team. I hate their fan base. I really hate everything about them except their play on the field. The Philadelphia Eagles, I'm taking to go back to back because I just love the way they're built. I love the way they play ball, and I think it's because I'm a traditional offensive lineman. You know what I mean? They can run the ball and they can play defense. You know what I mean? And that's why they had so much success last year, no matter the weather. That's why they beat up on the Chiefs. And the other part I love about it is being able to run the ball and play defense opens up the pass game. And usually when you have a team that's very, very good like they are at running they're just built so well. Usually when you have a team who has a great running back, great offensive line, okay, maybe the wide receivers, the receiving core is in question. They have a great one. It's as perfectly built of a team as you can get, and they're running it back with obviously not. Last year, I thought they were perfectly built. You know what I mean? That's why you win the Super Bowl. They were unbelievable, top to bottom. It's seemingly every position group. You lose a little bit, as you always do when you win a Super Bowl, but they're running back a lot of that core, so that's why they're my pick to win it all.
No, it's a fair one. I think the only thing for me, it's kind of two-part with the Eagles. One is where we kind of started this whole conversation, the hype machine. I feel like it's already out in front. I've heard some people like on ESPN radio say, you know what, Philadelphia, like 1 or 0 losses is not out of the realm of possibility this season. Looking at them as like a 15, 16 win team. The other side of it is Saquon. Now, if he can do that 2 years in a row, I'm absolutely with you. If he puts up another 2,000 yards or close to it on the ground, not even like 1,500, as opposed to what he did last year, but if he is 85 to 100% of the guy he was last year, yeah, I think Philly has a really real chance to go back to back. If not, I am curious what that offense looks like without a historic season in the middle of it that he was having last year.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think just my hope for Saquon is that they're not going to be last year towards the end of the year. Obviously, he sat out that last game and they made the business decision, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be chasing it as hard. You know what I mean? I think that I don't think he'll have as much success, which makes me hope that they'll use him. They won't be chasing it as a team. You know what I mean? That when they can shut him down or take a little workload off, go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? And maybe he'll find himself in another position. If he does find himself in a similar position to go chase it, then I think my Eagles Super Bowl pick is probably in a good spot.
Oh yeah, I'm right. If he's out there and he's performing to the way that he did last season, I think you're feeling good about how it's going through the season.
Let's go overrated, underrated. Start with your maybe most overrated team. If you got a handful, go ahead and give them to me.
Boy, I mean, I don't want to say to Patriot fans that they're overrated, but
Mm,
I'm just cautioning Patriot fans
the hype
like
train.
let's be pragmatic about this. Let's be reasonable. Let's be grounded in reality and remember that this is a team that won 8 football games the last 2 seasons, and a lot of people out there are now clamoring for double-digit wins this year.
Mm,
And I'll be honest, like the first time I went through the schedule, just did W or L next to every game, not thinking about it outside of a vacuum. I came away with like 10 or 11 wins. So I
hmm
see where that hype train's coming from, but you just have to think year one with a new coach, year two quarterback, there's usually a dip there, is like the sophomore struggles are a real thing in the NFL. He's on his like fourth OC in 4 years when you go back to his time at UNC. So he's just having to learn and learn and learn year over year. And how talented is the rest of the roster? We really don't know. I am in love with Travion Henderson. I would
hmm
have his babies today if he needed me to. He might go out there and turn in a Jalen Polk rookie year because I also thought Jalen Polk was going to have like 70 catches and 1,000 yards last season. Then we know how that turned out. Henderson, I think, could be fantastic. Diggs will be great, a good safety blanket, but he'll be more like a Julian Edelman than he will be Stephon Diggs in Buffalo or Minnesota. So I think people have to recalibrate maybe what they're expecting there. I don't know. I look at it and I say 8 or 9 wins, be happy with that. Like sign up for that right now. Be happy with it all day. Don't be too worried about them making a playoff spot or trying to get to 10 or 11. So because of all that, I think I would have to put the Patriots on, not at the top of that list, but definitely firmly on it.
I think it's funny because I used to view this as a multi-year rebuild,
Yep.
but the how
Oh, can I?
well.
My brother's calling me. He's at the ER right now, so
Oh
I
my
just gotta.
god, dude, take that. All right, we're back from that. I do agree with you because when I was talking, I think this is what I was getting at before. They're in the middle of a rebuild, right? And how well they handled the rebuild is what I think advanced the hype. It brought the hype right to the doorstep because of the draft, because of the signings, how everything was looking. I do think it's time to temper them. You know what I mean? This is the most excited I've been to watch Patriots games since Tom Brady was on the roster, which is a good feeling. And I hate even bringing that up and talking like that as a Patriots fan because every other fan base will just tell you shut the hell up.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but
Because we're like it's been so long, but they're like, dude, shut the hell up.
it's been 5 years. Calm down. But I mean, the same part of that too is Vrabel, right? It's having a confident guy leading the charge, a guy who has done it before, a guy who has made chicken shit or chicken salad out of chicken
Mm-hmm.
shit at times in Tennessee and gone to a AFC Championship game. But yeah, the hype just got too far out there. You've even heard Vrabel talking about it a little bit here, nearing the end of camp. Like, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit on some of this stuff.
For me, overrated. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the
Yeah,
offense is the
yeah,
offense is the offense. The offense is great. Again, I still have questions if they can protect Joe Burrow, and that defense is not only bad, it's hot ass. If they can play average defense, they're gonna make a playoff run.
maybe
But
a
I
10-win team, right?
correct. I totally agree. Don't think that's gonna be them. They're gonna have shootouts, and I just think that defense is really gonna let them down. And all people want to talk about that team is Joe Burrow, the receiver core. Look, that's great and all. This is not the Big 12. You can't win a shootout, you know what I mean, in every way, shape, or form in the NFL. You have to play defense. In the NFL, to a point, defense does win you championships still to this day. No matter how, because in the late 2010s, early 2020s, the game was trending in a weird way where it felt like, man, it's a passing league, is running the ball, is playing defense ever going to be important again? And then the
Yeah.
Philadelphia, you know what I mean? Then it comes along, the Chiefs make it to a Super Bowl relying on defense. The Eagles have a perfect combination of both. Like football is in a very good place right now, and it's not in a place where you can just expect to outscore opponents every week in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on all that. Now, let me ask you about the next team that I would have put on my list if I was just kind of rifling through one after the other. Be the Packers. They
Mm-hmm.
made the big splash last week. They stole the headlines getting the Micah Parsons deal or the trade complete. They gave him all the money to make him the highest paid non QB in NFL history. How do you feel about Jordan Love? Because all again, this whole episode has been centered around hype. He was the hype guy going into last year based off of like 6 to 8 games at the end of his rookie season the
Yep.
year before. Last year didn't obviously work out the way for him or the Packers that they were expecting, and yet they're back to being talked about as Super Bowl contenders again.
I am not a love. I'm not in love with Love.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not a
fair.
full Love
That's fair.
believer.
I like to hear
Very
it because they're
capable.
on my list.
And here's where with them, that receiving core, it's almost like you think about that team. You're like, oh yeah, they got a good offense. Like they got weapons.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of B level guys. They don't
it's
have that one guy. They
kind of
have
how the Pats have been building it right now. They've got better guys than New England does after Diggs,
correct.
but like you're saying, it's a lot of 2s and 3s and 4s that they're hoping add up to something more.
Exactly, and I think when you have too many of them, you know what I mean. You still don't have a one. You know what I mean. It almost gets even
Yeah,
more confusing then. So I'm with you, and in a tough division already, with the Vikings, who are going to be very good if they can just get average out of JJ McCarthy, with the
yeah.
Lions, who losing both coordinators hurts, but a big part of that team is culture, is just personnel who are fully bought in with Dan Campbell in lockstep. You know what I mean? That's still such a tough division. The Parsons stuff, I don't know if, and I haven't got a chance because we're 2 weeks late on an episode here to this podcast, so we haven't talked about the Parsons trade. I'm somebody who was so sick and tired of Micah Parsons opening his mouth last year to the press and on his podcast and not delivering with wins in the win column for the Dallas
I
Cowboys.
think that's my biggest question. How big of an impact, a difference maker, is he truly?
He is he really, and that's where I get so torn on it, is that he really is a game wrecker, but it feels like at times he's picking and choosing his mind. I don't like his mindset. I think that's what it is. I don't like the way he would handle himself in the media. I don't like the way he would handle himself even in his own podcast. I'm not, I guess I'm just not a Micah Parsons guy, and I don't know if and my biggest fear in talking about the trade is to let this affect, my judgment of him as a player, because I felt the same way about Luka to an extent, right? And then
Yeah.
the Luka trade happens, and I'm sitting there going, is that really that crazy of a move? And everyone's like, yeah, that's a fucking crazy move. You know what I mean? What are you talking? So
Yeah.
I don't want the Luka effect, and of course it just happens to be the same city, right? Poor Dallas fans. So I try to not let that cloud my judgment in who he is as a game wrecker, and just as how versatile he is as a player. I mean, you're talking about a linebacker who can be an edge rusher, who they can line up over the center, you know what I mean, over a guard, and still
Yeah.
find a way to get to the quarterback and wreak havoc. So he is a very valuable piece who I think the Packers are going to use well, but at the same time, that didn't turn into W's for the Cowboys. You know what I mean? So I can't blame you when everyone's buying stock in the Packers. I can't necessarily blame you for going the other way and calling them overrated. I guess.
Let me give you
Yep.
2 more
Yep.
real quick, like rapid fire, because I realized as we're talking through this, I left my actual top 2 off. So those would
Okay.
be 3 and 4 on the list. The
Let me hear them.
Patriots today. Number 2 is a quick one because I mentioned them earlier. It's Kansas City. I just think they're more of like an 11-win ceiling type of team. Rest of the division's getting better.
Yep.
They're falling back, regressing to the mean a little bit from where they've been in recent
Yep.
years. So when I say Kansas City is an overrated team, I think they'll still be in the playoffs and they'll either be 1 or 2 in the West. I just don't think necessarily they'll be in the Super Bowl at the end of it or contending for that, which has been the standard for them. Number 1 is Washington. I'm not high on Washington this year because of some of the distraction and everything that happened in the preseason, but mainly because of how good Jaden Daniels was last year. That guy was lights out as a rookie. He was performing at a level that you really haven't seen before in NFL history from a rookie, like a true rookie, because Patrick Mahomes was in year 2. Brady won a Super Bowl coming in year 2. There's plenty of guys who have been good in year 2. He was a real rookie doing it. But then when you do a little bit of a deeper dive on their team, they won a game by a Hail Mary. They won a bunch of really close games that maybe they squeaked out, that a bounce here, bounce there, could have sent it the other way. I think that year 2 regression might be coming a little bit. The league now has a full season of tape on Daniels to work with. He's a small guy, so he always seems like he's one hit from getting knocked out for weeks at a time.
Yep.
And again, they were a 12-win team last year, or 11 or 12, that went to the conference championship. Regression doesn't have to be all that big for it to seem that big. They might be a 9-win team that doesn't make the playoffs, and that's only a 2 or 3 win difference from where they were last year.
I agree with you on both of those. I'm actually, for my pick of the week, we're calling them wagers with Webb instead of walks with Webb.
Right?
We're
I
getting
like
real creative. Shout out Jeff Christianberry for that one. But that the Chiefs are going to be a part of my wager with Webb pick of the week here. So we're going to get to that a little bit later. As for the Commanders, and I have a question for you because I think along the same lines. I think they're a team that overachieved last year, and I think people should temper expectations because I've got the Super Bowl odds here.
Yep.
Bills and Ravens plus 600, Eagles
All right.
plus 700, Chiefs plus 850, Packers plus 1,200, Lions plus 1,400. The Commanders are that next team. So people think they're up there, you know what I mean, in that elite level of teams here in the NFL, at least that tier 2. My
I
question
mean,
to you, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say Daniels is like top 5 in MVP voting a lot of places you look.
So, and this is my question where I was not as surprised with Jaden Daniels' season as people were last year because I am also a COVID college athlete. I
Yep.
understand how much time someone like me and someone who is a very similar age, if I'm pretty sure the same age as Jaden Daniels, was
Yep.
awarded because of a red shirt and because of COVID, right? We're going to find out this year if a sophomore slump discriminates by age. Because
Okay.
with the advantage they had last year of being 24 years old and even more snaps under their belt at high-level programs in Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, do you think that is going to play any factor into maybe them not having a sophomore slump? This is my I guess I don't even have a hypothesis, but this is something I'm keeping an eye on where is how further ahead they were than the rest of their class because of how old they were and how much college football they played gave them an advantage. Does that stand true and maybe guide them through a sophomore slump, or are they still going to suffer? I'm excited to see.
It's honestly a great. I'm never looking at the ages of some of these guys that are a little older coming into the league. So maybe they're more mature.
Mm-hmm.
They handle it better. I've always thought of it as like the league now has a year of tape due, and that guys can get by with off the charts athleticism by catching people by surprise a little bit by
Yep.
bottom that. And it just seems like going into year 2, you kind of have to give the respect back to the other 31 teams and remember, oh crap, this is a business. This is professionals. This is what these guys have worked their entire lives to get to. And it just, I don't know. It seems like, especially for that quarterback, I'm having trouble just off the top of my head thinking of a lot of guys that really excel that following year. So
Yeah.
maybe what you're saying is the difference maker, that age can play that big factor
I'm
in it.
excited to figure this out. I'm really keeping an eye on
If
it.
if it goes well for Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, you got to clip out this little section of the podcast and date it and let people know that you were ahead, that you understood what most couldn't.
100%. And I'm fired up about that. Now before we get to some picks and what you're looking forward to this weekend, because I mean, how good does it feel to just have football here? Football is such a weird sport where it's not like the NBA or NHL where, okay, the season gets here and they kind of ease you into it. You know, they give you a big opening night, but then
Yeah,
maybe, you know, if
you
you're,
forget
if,
about it for a month or so, and Christmas rolls around.
you know what I mean? And it takes a little bit for you to fully get into it. And maybe, you know, opening nights on a Wednesday, your team doesn't even open the season until friggin', you know,
Yeah,
Saturday, and then they don't play again till when, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But football is where, okay, as soon as that first slate of games hits, you are into the routine. You're into the schedule. You blink. Like at this time next week, we're on the 17-week, week-to-week, you know, schedule here where we got football Thursday through Monday. You know what I mean? And we structure our whole lives around that. You know what I mean? It's the best thing ever. So I had to say that. It just feels so good to be back.
No, I mean, this time next week, I will be sad that one of the 18 weeks has already been chopped off the schedule.
And that's why you have to embrace every moment, no matter how bad your fantasy team's playing, no matter how bad the bets are going. And maybe if you're not a degenerate, I started with 2 degenerate things because I'm a degenerate. Maybe if you're just disappointed, maybe the Patriots lose Sunday. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, you know, you were one of those guys who fully bought in. Even enjoy the sorrow, man, because you can't take any of it for granted. Now, we got to just go quick underrated team before we get to this weekend. I got a couple in mind. I love Jim Harbaugh and how psycho he is.
Yeah,
The way he loves up Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert now dating Madison Beer.
I did see that. I did see that.
I think the Chargers now losing Slater hurts. Losing Slater certainly hurts them. Chargers, I got them as underrated. I've got You know, what's funny is I had the Texans down there because of just how lousy that division is and how good the
Yeah.
defense is. And then for some reason I'm still buying in on the Jags. I don't know why. I don't know why,
Are
but
you really?
for some
Are you
reason
really
I don't know if they're going to be a
expecting
playoff
Trevor
team.
Lawrence to bounce back? Like, what's the motivation there?
I just think they tried to clean house, and I'm really buying in on what Cohen could do with Trevor Lawrence, considering what he did with Baker Mayfield.
All right. I've got a couple to watch for. A few, I guess, technically. They're all out of the NFC. Two are actually in the same division, so I can hit them at the same time. Arizona and Seattle, because I kind of view the West as a little bit wide open depending on what's going on with Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
If he's there and he's healthy and he plays 18 games, I think the Rams could be like a legit Super Bowl contender with what they did to beef up that offense.
Agreed.
The rest of the squad they have, but that is a huge if when it comes to Matthew Stafford at this age. So Arizona, they just seem like one of those teams that people forget exist. They're just out there in the desert, but they got some good pieces. Kyler Murray, I think, has shown post ACL to be maybe a little bit better or simply more committed than people expected him to be, to come back and still be the player that he was. Marvin Harrison Jr. has put on a ton of weight. Have you seen that guy?
He looks good. He looks good.
He looks good. Now, I know his main issue last year was like separation and getting away from defenders, right? I don't know if that extra size does all that much apart from just looking good aesthetically. But that's one team that I look at that they just seem to always be there, right around 500 in recent seasons. So if the division's down a little bit, Seattle's the other one where
I like that pick.
They were like 3-0 to begin last year, right? They got off to a solid start under McDonald, right? I'm blanking on his name, coming over from Baltimore, the defensive-minded head coach there. But now they have Sam Darnold at the quarterback position. Kenneth Walker is a solid running back. Charbonnet behind him. They got a good ground game there. They got some wide receivers still with Smith and Najigba to throw the ball to. I think that's a team that, again, if the division's down a little bit, you could see them making some noise.
I actually agree with you, and I think they're a team that nobody's talking about at all, like at all. And part of it is the market. You know, I mean, you don't hear people talking about Seattle, you know, quite often. But I do. I think that's a good pick for underrated teams. Let's get into the weekend. I mean, so many great games. The one thing that at least I'm glad, where as much as money's driving everything now that Red Zone's going to have friggin' ads and all of it is at least
wait. That's been confirmed.
Been confirmed. Brutal. Just it's not. It is now. It's now 7 hours of red zone football, not commercial free football. I will really want to know. You pray that it is the new golf advertising where it's okay. You can't hear. They're cutting to like one of those. Yes, you know what I mean. They still got the coverage in a little frame while they're running their ad. I just can't. I don't think that's how it's going to be. Just knowing them, it's probably going to cut to a commercial like once per hour, which it's just frustrating to see how, okay, European soccer, can they give you a full half? You know what I mean? Like there are ways around just directly cutting out of the feed and coverage, and I hope they can figure it out, and I hope they do it well. Do I have confidence they will? No. But anyway, to my original point, at least with how, money hungry these leagues are and these sports are, at least they're delivering and giving the people what they want. Like some of these week one matchups are spectacular.
Big games out there, yeah.
You know what I mean? At least we're getting a great one on Thursday, Cowboys, Eagles. At least we're getting Chargers, Chiefs Friday night. At least Sunday and Monday Night Football are unbelievable to start the year. You know what I mean? Big. I can't say I can't say I envy any of those teams that are in a divisional game to start. I do think they should offer a little bit of a buffer. But anyway, can't be too picky here. You know what I mean? Because we're still getting great games. What is a game you got circled on your calendar? Not pick-wise, but maybe give me one that you're just cannot wait to see, and it can't be the Patriots because that's the one deep down in my heart, that's the one I would like to pick, but we got to rule out the Patriots because that's just bias.
Let's go. Sunday night's going to be a great one. Baltimore, Buffalo,
great one.
In Buffalo. That's going to be fantastic theater to open up the year. Lamar versus Josh Allen, last couple of MVPs right there. But that's an easy one. I'll go with America's Game of the Week this week. No, it's not America's Game of the Week because it's on CBS. I'm looking at it right here. But it's Detroit at Green Bay. NFC North battle to begin the year. Divisional matchup like you're talking about. So you get some of that intensity right out of the gate. You have the storylines that we were talking about with Parsons.
Plenty of them.
You got Detroit, who I don't want to say that their window's on the way down, but they've been right there on the doorstep the last couple of years.
It
How
feels
many
like it.
years? Yeah, how many years can you be on the doorstep before it starts going in the other direction?
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's where you're so excited to watch them. Okay, what are they going to be? You know what I mean? Are they
Yeah,
going to still be the Dan Campbell Lions, or were those two coordinators, did they play a big role?
yeah,
I'm not going to lie. For me, and again, we discussed the layups. Sunday Night Football, such a layup. Patriots, such a layup. Steelers Jets has
yeah.
my full attention
Storyline.
because of the two quarterbacks, right? How is Justin Fields going to be? How is Aaron Rodgers going to be? Every time you see a practical Aaron Rodgers, you're like, that guy looks like shit moving wise.
Yeah,
I mean, how is he going to be able to move in the pocket? It's Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Jets. It's Justin Fields, or that is at MetLife, correct?
yeah, it is.
Yeah. So it's Aaron Rodgers coming back to MetLife after just a shit storm of how it all went down there. I'm fired up for that one. Do you have a pick? Where does your pick lie? I asked you for one pick. If you got one, where are you going?
Like a lock, like Survivor style pick.
Now, no such thing as a lock. We do have to get that out of the way. No such thing as a lock. Well, maybe give me a play that you love.
Play that. I mean, it's got to be Philly in the opener.
Yeah.
They're 8.5-point favorites, so that's a big number.
Number.
If you're looking for the cover there, that is a big number for opening night.
Big.
But this Dallas team, I don't know. There seems to be some fractures there between Jerry Jones and the way he runs his football team. He's always run his football team. And I don't know if it was like last off season when exactly it happened, but people seem to be viewing Jerry as they should be viewing Jerry now, which is he only wants to run a soap opera. He's not really that concerned about winning games or a Super Bowl at the end of the year. He now has this Netflix documentary that he has come out and said as much on. Does that team necessarily still have all the juice to go out there and fight for their owner like that? I think this year in Dallas could go sideways on them, be like a 6 or 7 win team. So tomorrow night, you know what? Start off with some fireworks. Take Philly minus 8.5.
I like it. For me, I'm going Friday. I mean, we're not even. We can't even wait till Sunday. I mean, we're just getting these picks out of the way. I'm going Friday. Chargers +3.
Chargers.
Going Chargers +3. And maybe this is New England bias and Chiefs hate a little bit. It's not even that I hate the Chiefs. I was really hating the Chiefs when Patty Mahomes was about to win 3 in a row and people were talking like he was already better than Brady. Okay, yeah, I was a little pissed off, but we avoided that one. We're good. We're all good. We're all good with the Chiefs now. I just think so much distraction around them with the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff. Mahomes obviously still being a superstar in all these commercials. They're professionals. They're going to handle it like professionals, but you can't tell me that's not a little bit of a sideshow. And who they are. That's the price of also being a dynasty or a borderline dynasty. You know what I mean? I should say. Yeah. And I think the Chargers are a team who are going to be hungry. You know, Harbaugh is going to have them ready to go. They're going to ground and pound with Hampton, and hopefully Najee Harris can play. So, and I believe in Herbert as well.
They're starting, or at least they expect him to.
Yeah, exactly. I believe in Herbert as well. So I'm going Chargers +3, and I do have one more I'd like to sprinkle in. We're going Pickens.
Right.
We're going Pickens over yards on Thursday night.
Pickens. Totally are. Oh, Pickens. I thought you were
Pickens.
Okay. Pickens.
Yeah, Pickens over yards. I think it's it's in the high 50s.
High 50s?
It's in the high 50s.
Take the over because they're going to be losing by more than 8.5.
Well, and I also think they're going to try to get him going. You know what I mean? Because I think they're going to try to get him fully involved in the offense. So that's a prop I'm taking. As for Sunday, I look at the board on Sunday, and there are some tough ones on here. I mean, NFL spreads always do a good job at making it tough, but it's like Commanders, Giants, -6 at home for Commanders. It feels like it should be a layup. That's one of those where the Giants are in it till the end. You know what I mean? It's just some weird numbers out here. Patriots -3. I'm not going near that game because both those teams are just like, what do you got? You know what I mean? For both.
Yeah, again, the hype train. A lot of Patriot fans looking at that and saying, oh, Vegas, awful team. Well, they picked one behind you in the draft last year.
You know what I mean? They picked one behind you, both new coaches, new quarterbacks in that build. I guess I shouldn't say new. But Drake May finally, it feels like this is a new year for Drake May because it's his ship.
It's his team, yeah.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? It's his team. He's not coming here to mid-year where he has to kind of be the rookie who's learning, thrusted into a starting role. You know what I mean? It's his first full year in the program, and the numbers you see around here are weird. Falcons, only a 1.5 underdog to the Bucks. I mean,
Really?
There are some lines here. Broncos -8.5 against the Titans in Cam
Who
Ward.
who's the Falcons QB? Do we know? Have they said?
Penix.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Penix. Yeah, Penix, the Falcons QB. So I'm excited. Anything that we missed, anything that you got to get out there, maybe a take you had been brewing, that because this has been awesome. This has been great. This is the longest we've gone here on the old Full Moon Pod. So we're gonna have to have you on again soon. I'm fired up.
Absolutely. No, I think I'm good here. I'll make sure to conserve the energy for the next time.
Perfect. I hate to rush out of here, but I have been. I don't know if you can tell. I'm sorry if you're watching this on YouTube. I am in the recording studio at the station. There's zero airflow in here.
A little steamy.
So I am sweating bullets. So if you're good, I'm good.
I'm good. This was fun.
You're the man, Mark. Appreciate you, bro. We'll have you back on again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great to have Mark on to talk shop. I mean, that's a guy who's literally responsible for putting together and hosting a daily radio show. So he's good at what he does. He will be back on the Full Moon Podcast. And I mean, that was pretty long, and we got a lot. I got a lot off my chest in there, and I thought it was some great conversation. But we got to finish with Today on X. And actually, Today on X is Today on TikTok. Fellas, this is an official PSA. Not only are there the Facebook groups where girls can just throw you up anonymously and you'll get comments, true or false. I mean, sure, I'm sure some guys deserve it, but I'm sure there's a lot of slander. I think that would be libel, right? That'd be libel, not slander. A lot of false information that also gets shared because women can be bitter. Everyone can be bitter. Don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about this specific situation. Everyone can be bitter. I'm talking about this specific situation. And they'll start spreading lies on those comments on that Facebook page. It's like that "Are we dating the same guy?" page. I'll tell you what, man. They've leveled up now. They've got this thing called the T app, where they can holy shit. I just forgot how to say anonymous. Anonymously post you on the T app, and other girls can anonymously rate you. Legitimately rate you. I think it's out of 5. And not only that, they can add a little context at the bottom. They can leave a comment. It's a dangerous game, and that's why I'm just staying out. I'm not even on the sidelines. I'm watching from the stands. Because here's the thing: if you've been done wrong, like truly done wrong, okay, you know what I mean. Go, like if you've been done real dirty, okay, throw them up. You know what I mean? Let them get roasted. Let them get what it's coming to. What I fear is the crazy chicks who are about to start talking to a guy, maybe think the guys, because you know how it is, man. Some guys could just be entertaining and not even really wanting to date, just entertaining, and that girl, could think it's going a different direction. She could throw them up. See, I don't believe in that. Throwing them up before they've done you wrong just to like get a feeler out there? No, man. You can't end up, because that just gives you a bad rap. And the problem I have with it is guys can't even be on there to defend themselves. That's the craziest part. And what's really disappointing is that the guys are going to get their own app, and that's when this is all going to get shut down. That's when problems will occur, is when the guys get their own app and start airing out their dirty laundry. That's when it'll all get shut down and dealt with by whoever, probably legally, because that shit's crazy. But I just want the fellas to be out there with their head on a swivel, knowing that nobody's safe. You think you got a little slick thing going? Nope. You're probably on the T app, my brother. I'm just letting you know. For some reason, I'm on that. That was on my For You page on TikTok, and I was stunned, dumbfounded. I can't believe it. I can't believe that's a thing. So just keep your head on a swivel. Trust no one. Trust no one. Okay? Just letting you fellas know. As for State of the Moon, 2 weeks for the pod, man. Big John had a complication with his prosthetic a couple weeks ago, ended up in the hospital. That kind of took over my week. And then I had another thing pop up last week that required my full attention at the time, and there was a deadline. So it's football season, man. And here's the thing. When you're a one-man show like this, there was only so much hyping of football that I could do. This is my bread and butter. I like to react and look forward. react, take it in, what I saw, talk about it, and then look forward to the next week. I'm a football guy at heart. Football guys handle their business in the moment. It's a week-to-week thing. You play, watch the film, look forward to next week, just like that. And that's where I thrive. So I'm really looking forward to hitting a groove here, not missing a week, and really getting in a routine. Watching the games, taking notes, sharing my thoughts, looking ahead to the, you know what I mean? Just that routine. I'm fired up about that opportunity. But again, thank you for listening to the Full Moon Podcast. We'll be back next week. Keep your head on a swivel, fellas. Keep your head on a swivel. The T app is out there. You are not safe. Enjoy football. Enjoy football. We're here. Think about how long the offseason is. We've talked about it. Just everything leading up. The NFL teasing you, combine, draft, minicamp, all this shit. The blue balls of August. We are here. We've made it, and it feels so far away. Even just a couple weeks ago, it's so far. We're here. Take a deep breath. Soak it all in. Every snap, even the dog shit ones, man. Even the dog shit ones. We made it. Bring a tear to my eye. Enjoy it this weekend. Do not take it for granted.